Go ahead and get it all rolling. Mayor, it's actually thanks to Councilmember McMaster. The White Salmon City Administrator happened to be in Leavenworth for a weekend a couple months ago. It was in May. It was right after that Labor Relations Institute in Yakima. And Travis ran into him on Sunday when there was a race running through town, right? A 5K.
Yeah.
And when they were chatting, Troy is his name, the White Salmon City Administrator mentioned to Travis that they had recently adopted an ordinance for tenant protection. And it outlines how much rents can be raised at the timeline that needs to be given to the tenant if a landlord is intending to raise rents. So I reached out to Troy and I got a copy of their ordinance, which was adopted just last September, and that's in your packet under tab B for consideration. So that's that's all of my intro to this. This is something that Travis had asked for. I reached out, got the ordinance. It's before you for discussion tonight to see if the council would like to pursue something similar for 11.
This did come up in the discussion that I've spoken to several people in town that their rent was $800 and then it was $1,800.
Yeah.
Maybe that settled down a little bit, but I think with our low inventory and as far as homes to buy and even rentals, this is just one more protection. I think the state may have it covered though on the giving 90 days notice if it's month to month. There's some state protections. So I think the major one is the increase of 10% isn't covered by the state. So that's I think that's the one to really focus on. You know, I think that's a fair ask for anybody living. You know, getting your rent doubled is quite an ask, especially maybe the climate that we're in as far as the economy. So.
Other thoughts?
I think it's a great topic of discussion. I mean, you're right. I think it may have settled down a little bit, but the minute the interest rates go below 4%, if indeed it does, we're going to have this conversation. I mean, yeah, with property values skyrocketing again. So, yeah, appreciate you bringing that up.
So, Jarvis, just to fresh that part, you can't raise it more than 10% in 12 months, or
yeah. So there's a couple things. There's when you're if you have a 6 month or a long term 30 days or more contract, and then you go month to month, it's considered the same contract unless there's a new contract introduced, and you can give them notice. And even within that, that's the state protections on the notice. You even if you're month to month, you can't say, okay, well, you're out tomorrow.
Right.
And and it's honestly, it's 90 days on some. If you're moving back in, it's less. But if you're looking to remodel and sell it and put it on the market, there's some different lengths of time. So that's a standalone. But yeah, it enters into you would have to enter it into a new contract, and it cannot go more than 10%. So if you're month to month, we'd like to raise the rent. It can only be raised 10%, and that's a new contract for a determined amount of time, right? And you enter back into that contract because you're month to month at that point. If you're in a contract, they can't do anything until the contract expires. But it gives a leg to stand on for someone, an opportunity to look for other housing or.
Would this apply to, say, one of the Widener apartments, for example?
Yeah.
Because I know somebody right now who their lease was up and their rent went up so high they have to move.
Yeah. And this is what I've heard from a couple folks, the past 6 months as well. Yeah, this would protect them on that.
Any other questions, comments? So it's like it's 10%, no more than 10% within 12 months. Is there a limit? Like, can be shorter than that? Or I'm just trying to.
So what the White Salmon ordinance reads is that a landlord may not increase the rent of a tenant by more than 10% of the rent. So whatever you're paying today.
Okay.
Unless they provide the tenant with notice of the rent increase at least hundred and eighty days, which is 6 months. Before the increase takes place.
Okay,
Again, giving someone the opportunity to either find other lodging or, and that's, in that amount of time, things can fluctuate and maybe back down to a less monthly rent.
Those are all provisions that are up for discussion.
Right.
The general idea
The
is.
general idea is presented here with their specifics, but if we wanted to tweak those, that's certainly up to the council
Right.
to do.
no, I think it's a valid, real valid point. That tenants need that kind of protection, and I don't think you're denying the landlords, an ability to function or to be entrepreneurs, but I just think given this town, that would be something we definitely take a look at and continue to, eventually implement, but
And if you look at a lot of every state in the country, when you get down to it, it's tenant protections heavy. And there's a reason for that. And so
Yeah.
this is just, it's not egregious to ask for this, and it hasn't been challenged in White Salmon, and it's a fair ask. And
yeah.
Here's a question that I have. Let's say we decide to go in this direction. What's our most aggressive timeline with getting this enacted? Because I envision if those who are inclined for some steep rent hikes know this might be in the offing in the city, that might step up their plans a bit to get out in front of it.
How long does it take to do an ordinance? If you
Yep.
guys want to move forward with this, I
Yep.
could bring you an ordinance to your next meeting for you to adopt, and then it's what, 10 days, 5 days after that, after it's been, 5 days after it's been published, so 10 days after you vote?
Is there any public hearing requirements for this, do you know?
I don't believe there's. It's not zoning.
So currently, right now, we don't have any tenant protection in place.
Nothing beyond state law.
in the city, yeah. Yeah, I think so. And you think about people moving in.
They did, sorry.
It's
Okay.
it's school time, right? People trying to secure housing, so really, people are looking
All right.
at beginning of August for sure, so we can get this done sooner than later. It will
I think-
benefit a
Gotcha.
couple people for sure this season.
So I'm gonna amend my previous comment. White Salmon did hold a public hearing, and then they revised the ordinance. And then adopted it. But if you guys wanted, we could bring a draft for you to review in study session. We could set a public hearing date. Then we could have a public hearing and you could adopt it. So this could be done in July.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think that's a good move.
Yeah.
Are these all rents, not just apartments? All-
Houses, rents,
All
yeah,
rent.
anybody who's renting.
Anybody who's renting in their own home or whatever.
Yep.
Well, Travis, thanks for bringing this. It's excellent, I think, too. And I like the idea of a public hearing, so
Yeah.
the community
Yeah.
can know about
Yep.
it that way. And yeah, it's great.
And look, you're all certainly welcome to call this a master ordinance. If that's, if you guys.
Oh, no.
Whatever.
Don't think I'm so
No, no.
fun.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate the feedback.
Okay. Naming rights, that's a good one. All right, I think we got our directions there. We'll bring back, bring it back for
Yep.
setting a public hearing and then move it on.
Easy enough.
Next item is Public Works Organizational Assessment Discussion.
Thank you, Mayor.
Going to do that right now.
Thank you very much. Good evening, council members. This item before you this evening in the study session is just a brief summary of an organizational assessment for the Public Works Department that was conducted by GME Consultants. A little bit of background. Since I've been here 3 years, operational demands have been steadily increasing because of just population increases and the increased demand in tourism. And we're still finding that we're still being a little bit more reactive than proactive in the Public Works Department. We're definitely trending in the right direction. And because of that, there was an interest to just have a third party evaluate the Public Works Department and just see, are we in line with best practices? Is there something that we're just missing the mark on in terms of an organizational assessment? So we procured GMP consultants to do this work. And in summary, they basically found that from an administrative standpoint, we are understaffed, primarily driven by the fact that we have so much capital project workload. And also we have 5 operational divisions that all report to the Public Works Director. So that coupled with the CIP manager and admin assistant, the Public Works Director position has 7 direct reports, which from a span of control standpoint is somewhat high. So GMP consultants, in summary of the report, the biggest takeaway is just to reorganize and provide additional staff to achieve the department's functions and programs. So before you this evening on the overhead projector, so this is the existing Public Works organizational chart. And so like I mentioned, there's 5 division supervisors, CIP manager, admin assistant, and they all report to Public Works. And part of the findings in the report, I won't go into too many details, but I'm just going to speak as positions here. So the Public Works Director position should be more high level and more strategic, and making sure, like, we're making sure the department is going where it needs to go in the next 5 years. The way it's structured, the Public Works Director acts more like an operations and maintenance manager due to having the 5 direct reports of the operational staff. So there's a lot of times that I'll just transition this first person up. But there's a lot of times that I have to deal with a lot of operational issues that come up on a day-to-day. And so it kind of pulls me away from that high level planning and just direction on the department. And also with the large number of capital projects, I manage some of the projects, certainly not all of them. Andy has 19 projects at approximate value of 13 million. So that's a very high workload for any project engineer. And Andy goes above and beyond, and her role also does policy and administers the GIS program. And she needs discretionary time to do CIP planning work as well. And so what GMP consultants they recommend, oh, look at the clicker, we're good. So this is what they recommend. They basically recommend additional staff. And I will preface some of this as well. So starting with the capital project, so they've proposed 2 options. One is to idle back the workload of the CIP manager to more of a 4 to 5 active projects versus 19. One thing to note is that there's so many projects in the queue that it's not like a flip of a switch. So we have enough work going that it would take a couple of years to idle that back down. So I want to preface that option with that. The second option that they propose is getting more project support to carry the capital project workload forward. And one position that would kind of provide value in multiple ways is the creation of the city engineer position. So currently the engineer of record is by way of a consultant. So all our development reviews are done by a consultant. Andy, who's our current CIP manager, is a licensed engineer. So she does support some of the consultant review. We find that Andy does a lot of kind of double checking the consultant's work. So the consultant that does the review, that cost is passed to the developer, but Andy's review of the developer's work, we're not getting any cost recovery on that. But in addition to adding that to support a lot of the project development review, the city engineer can also manage projects. So having a city engineer and a CIP manager, that would spread the project management workload. And then the second priority recommendation for staff additions is this creation of an operations and maintenance manager. So an operations and maintenance manager would be the point of contact for the 5 division supervisors. And so the Public Works Director would go from 7 direct reports to 3, and making it a much more manageable workload in terms of direct reports. And also the Public Works operations and maintenance manager would be closer to boots on the ground. They will ensure work plans are being developed consistently and implemented. And we still have, sure, we're doing good in Public Works, but there's still gaps. We still need to build robust preventive maintenance programs, and this would be a fantastic opportunity and task for an operations and maintenance manager to create those programs and make sure they're implemented. And also, this Public Works operations and maintenance manager would provide more support than I can provide right now to the 5 direct reports, because ideally I'd have weekly check-ins with all my staff, but just due to workload and the size of direct reports, sometimes some of my direct reports I only meet twice a month with. So with that said, I don't want to take up all the airtime. I want to make sure there's time for questions.
So we've got, I mean, the chicken cart before the chicken. Will potentially, or we will have a new public works director, will be a new position, and then you're also having another new position directly under them. I mean, was this done in the discussion with them that there's gonna be two new positions in this vertical kind of move? That's a big, that seems like a lot of shift. Shifting this maybe now, maybe this is something down the road. And within a year, but like this seems like a lot right now with two new positions.
And that's a good point. I do want to be clear, like, this is not a immediate ask of the council tonight. This is not like approve these today. This is just FYI, this is what we're evaluating.
And they actually recommended 6 additional FTEs. We're only discussing 2 of them right now.
3, 4, 5.
Is that in a perfect world or considering budgetary restrictions?
In a perfect world, they weren't looking at budget whatsoever.
Right.
They weren't looking to see what we could afford. They're looking at us operationally, what we need to be as effective as we possibly can.
Tom, can I ask you a couple sort of
Sure.
background questions?
Absolutely.
Still new on the council. So first of all, I've never seen your brow as furrowed as it is talking about this subject. So I'm concerned. How many
That's
hours,
not intentional.
how many hours a week do you work? I'm just, I just
Yeah,
trying to
no,
understand.
that's a good question. It depends. I mean, it ultimately depends. I mean, if it's not a city council meeting week, it's 45 hours.
Okay, and
With a
if,
city council meeting, obviously add the length of that, but it varies. I mean, there's sometimes that, you gotta remember too, I do a lot of email outside of work. Like I get up early in the morning and I.
you should count that, I
Catch
think. Yeah,
Catch up on email.
Okay.
Like I said, the 10,000 foot, it's efficiency and I mean, number of hours is one thing, but it's what getting caught up in the minutia is what we're trying to like pull away from, right?
and then the second part is, so thanks, I just wanted to get a sense of how sort of how much we're demanding of you. And then you said there's 2 options: to idle back or to get more project support. So can we talk about idling back a little bit? And again, city of 2,500 people, this seems like we're doing tons, but that's because we're not a typical city of 2,500 people. And is it possible to idle back, or are we too driven and have too much sort of like tsunami behind us to be able to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it wouldn't be immediate. It would take years it would take a year, probably two to 3 years to idle back to what they recommend of a 4 to 5 projects for the CIP manager. So we have a lot in motion. One thing to note, we're just starting to get into a situation where the bipartisan infrastructure law has a lot of funding influx into the state. So for example, the DWSRF, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, that's for water projects. They typically have a $5 to $7 million a year call, and it's being elevated to 150 million for the next 5 years or so because of the bipartisan infrastructure law.
I guess
There's a lot of opportunity.
that's great. I guess I just want to point out that to the degree that we can be aware of the option of idling back as recommended and the council votes on things, that might just be something to keep in our mind. Then the second part about getting more project support, I understand where you're coming from in terms of trying to especially be boots on the ground and be aware of what's happening. And so I guess probably everyone has the question of, how much money will it cost and how would we do it?
Right, exactly. And in the write-up, I did put some just high-level preliminary salaries. So the operations and maintenance manager would be 85 to 100K without benefits. So you could add 30% on that for all-in cost. And then the city engineer would be 100 to 120. And I did preface this by saying this is subject to a formal salary analysis. This is just putting out, just to give you a rough order of magnitude.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Is the consultant we have hired now for a length of time, like we hire them for a year or?
Better for this project.
Just
For the
test
project.
this project. Make recommendations.
One thing to note, not that I want to jump on board behind Tom and say, I need staff, but as his team ramps up and does more, it affects our team too.
Right.
So there could be some residual effects for more administrative staff in our departments as well.
Do we see more huge projects on the horizon?
Yes, I mean, we're gonna need another wastewater treatment plant upgrade in the next 5 to 10 years. Whether, depending on the source swap feasibility study, there either will be a second well field that'll be constructed or a new water plant. And there's a number of just water main and water transmission main projects. We'll need a third reservoir at some point. So there's a lot of big projects.
The public facility.
Yeah, public works facility. Thank you. Yeah.
So when we started with the sewer treatment plant project, did we not have an eye on that we gotta do it again? We gotta add more to it? It kind of makes me mad.
No, well, that's a good question, and I would kind of calm the, I guess, anger, not really anger, but at the time it was being planned, like this growth was not anticipated.
Okay.
So they were following what was anticipated growth wise in the most current general sewer plan. So they definitely, the staff at the time were not short-sighted by any means, but in the last 5 years, no one expected the growth that level of this experience. Because the increased tourism, that's hard to project. And that has a lot of, loading at the wastewater treatment plant that was not necessarily expected at the time.
And lodging tax go to those kinds of things?
Well, and to also note with the wastewater treatment plant, it was driven to begin with by new regulations.
Yes.
For discharging water. It wasn't that our plant was failing and having issues at the time.
Yeah, that's a valid point. It was primarily for phosphorus removal.
And a lot of the funding we acquired, which by the way, about 7.2 million of the 19.5 million was grant, went towards mainline improvements too, which is what he's working on right now. So it's not just the plant. It included that south interceptor for several million, and then all the lines that he's working on between 4 and 5 million.
And the problems there. So lodging tax cannot help with that, even though
Not direct.
It's gotta come from the
that are
ratepayers.
kinda-
It's gotta come from the ratepayers.
They're flushing more toilets than the citizens, right?
Well,
In other words, you have to raise rates.
paying for it,
Yes.
but it's gotta be through the sewer rate. It can't be lodging.
The ratepayers, which could also come from the hotels.
Which
Yeah.
does.
And people who have business licenses who.
Yeah.
Anybody who gets a water sewer bill is a ratepayer.
It makes me ask this question. We're hitting 3 million plus last year. And my question, when I read this report and the impact on the public works from the tourist industry, as part of my question was, when is enough enough? When do we stop? Not that we can decide that, but I think we just can't keep expanding our infrastructure for our public works folks because we keep getting more tourists and more toilets and all the overload in the system. I think both us and the chamber got to kind of think about, we don't need more than 3 million tourists. We don't need 4.5 million tourists. I mean, I know that's sort of an affluent, whatever, how we say that word, that we should limit somehow how many people we bring here, but I think it's a reality check. I really do. I think that where we've come in 5 years to here, it's had a huge impact, and not always, I mean, it's given us funds and given us resources, but it's also taxed our staff and our city administrators and the folks who get the things done way more than if we had less folks coming here, from my perspective. So just wanted to kind of lay that out on the table.
I just had a therapy appointment today with a physical therapist, and strangely, we were talking about the Oregon coast. There's a tourist organization on the Oregon coast, and I grew up in Oregon. I used to work in tourism. And so anyway, they've switched from, they're the biggest one on the Oregon coast. They've switched from trying to get more people to making it more sustainable. And that is so groundbreaking to go, we're a tourist association and we're going to switch gears like that. And so, that sort of was an aha moment for me, because I've been thinking, along similar lines too, because we're just live in a limited valley.
Where is that tourist association?
It's the Oregon Coast Tourist Association. It has a different name. I don't remember what the full name is. And then when I used to do tourism and I went to international conferences, well, in London is where we were, met different people that did tourism around the world in really impacted places. And they had a different approach than just bringing more people in all the time. They had different ways to make things more sustainable or to target certain kinds of people. So again, I think that those are the more forward thinking, have we reached a limit kind of processes we can.
And that's exactly what we're gonna be talking about when we envision and look at, we've got a comprehensive plan amendment process coming up. We've got a visioning thing happening this fall that's gonna ask those same questions. I mean, what's the next? I mean, we did 50 years of out and out growth of tourism. What's the next 50 years? And how do you switch to what does it look like to do sustainable versus constantly growing?
And those are large, I've spent time with the Ecuadorian Tourism Bureau. These are countries visitor bureau when they're small, right? The Galapagos and the impact and all that, right? Do you know, I learned last week that the budget for Oregon for their tourism is $40 million a year. In Washington, we may lose it even next year. We fought, I think, to get it 10 years ago, and it's like $4 million a year is what we get.
We have the least in the country.
It's the least in the country. So think about those dollars. We had those dollars for the state. PSAs are just trying to introduce the better sustainable tourism. It's a big help to having those dollars. Not that it's, I don't know, just interesting conversation of us spending all our monies to get people here.
Well, I hope we stick with it because I don't know, 5 years ago, the over tourism, a lot of people in town were talking about it and it went nowhere. It's ignored. So if we're gonna do it. Think about it. We need to get serious about it.
Yeah.
Instead of reacting later.
Yeah. Now we're reacting later already.
Well, we're reacting later on a lot of things, let's face it. We didn't build housing that while we were building that tourism industry either, which we're reacting now later. But that's, sadly, that's the nature of the human race sometimes is to plan for today, not think too far into the future. So then we're playing catch up or step back or whatever.
Tom, what else do you need?
I had another question for you, Tom. In the utility rate study right now, we're putting in some draft numbers. Wasn't the city engineer one that
It was
we're looking at?
one, yeah.
Okay, so potentially we're looking at those numbers and how to fund that across his various funds.
Tom, with your 30,000 foot view of everything and your knowledge of all the projects that you're currently working on and those that are imminently in the queue, what's the pressure to make these kinds of decisions? How acutely should we feel that we need to discuss this? Is this a medium-term goal? Is this a stretch goal? Is this something that we really need to figure out in the next 3 to 5 months? What's your assessment?
Yeah, Councilor Strand, that's a great question. From my standpoint, I think this can work itself through the budget process and be a January 1, 25 type of situation. Given obviously everyone's aware of this now, but my imminent departure, somebody else is going to be in this seat. It's a good idea to Councilmember McMaster's point to let them kind of evaluate the department as well. But so there's going to be some interim workload demands shifted to Andy quite a bit. So I just think that that's going to be the immediate focus is just to get through the interim period.
Yeah, because I guess the elephant in the room that I was tiptoeing towards was that, I mean, my comment's more of the yes and variety. I mean, I recognize from the write-up that there's so much on your plate and how much of that is essential work. And if you were the one directing this type of scaling, I have no concerns at all with how this would get operationalized. But thanks to the city of Wenatchee, because of this, I would have potential concerns about the effectiveness of this kind of scaling, depending on who may be sitting in your chair. So I was trying to get a sense of how acutely we need to step on the gas and that sort of thing.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. It could work itself through the budget process, and this is a January 1. Because the budget still needs to be evaluated.
Right.
And again, some of this is already dollars that we are spending outside that we can internalize and get, so it's not like all of this is kind of new money, if you would.
Right.
But, and I would just, again, say, regardless, I mean, Tom's position that needs to be refilled is not a new position.
No,
And
not at all.
no, so I'm just saying whoever that is still gonna need that help if we're carrying these loads.
Right.
And so I mean, as Tom says, we can work it into that budget process. Now, it may not happen immediately until, we want to do it as they come on and do their own evaluation, but still.
Sorry, I should have been more clear. I was meaning towards, the new public works director has the opportunity to choose their staff, not
Sure.
necessarily.
Sure, yeah, they're gonna wanna do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I agree with these recommendations, at least the priority one, and priority two.
And remember, these were, there was 6 total. What we're talking about is kind of the immediate 2 that would get us, jump started onto these, but they're full meal deal, ideal situation, and we're not going there. We're just saying, let's look at the critical ones that would relieve the most, give us, I guess, the most bang for the buck.
Sure.
There's actually a 7th position that's not on that chart. It was an IT person.
Yeah, that was a tertiary.
Would you say that, let's say, I don't believe that we're gonna hit 3 million visitors this year. It's gonna settle down a little bit from all indicators that I know and what I do. Even if it settles down, we need these positions. I think we're still trying to catch up a little bit. I think this will let us catch our breath, even if it settles down a little bit on the tourism side. Wouldn't you agree? I think this is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions or? Go.
I just got that email.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Go ahead then and move into our next inclusionary zoning discussion.
Okay. And also use your mouse to drive. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, council members. There's a small write-up in your packet that included a link to this website here. Found this website to be very helpful in looking at the different factors that impact inclusionary zoning. But also in your packet is the current draft that we could be considering or discussing with the Planning Commission at the next meeting. And then highlight some of the basic concepts that I've heard from the City Council Planning Commission in the past so far. One of the biggest factors is to know how much of an ask is too much before you kill the project. And that's why this webpage and calculator system is pretty helpful. It's general, so not specific to Leavenworth, so it's important to keep that in mind as well. So goes through a series of questions. If we were looking at low rise, mid-rise and high rise developments would be something you'd find more in Spokane or Seattle. So if we just stuck with the low rise. And I would say we have a mixed market. Some areas are strong and some are not strong. Also in your packet was an article that talked about some of the challenges with smaller communities doing this, but it gave some good examples of where it worked. And it talked about the balance there too. That's why that was included. So let's just start with a mixed market. And I encourage you to go on your own time and play with this program. Adjust the factors and see what you come up with. So we start with looking at the base number of units. In Leavenworth, we typically just have small developments in the multifamily zone. But if we were to start with 30, let's use their number. A site, I think, area of 1 acre would be fairly good size for our community as well. A lot of our sites are smaller now that bigger sites have been developed. But in case you can stick with that, our parking ratio drops down. And parking, as I had mentioned to you in the past, yeah, you could just put it down to 0. As I mentioned to you in the past, parking is a major driver for making these projects feasible because of the cost of the land and the space that it takes up, so it's like a double multiplier. Then common area, let's track this all the way down to 5% to make it small as possible. There's no commercial space, although we'll come back and we'll play with that as well.
Would other rental income be considered like paid parking from the city? Would that one tab down other rental income?
It'd be if you had like washers and dryers, stuff like that.
Oh, I got it,
They
yeah.
get a room that they charge for.
So then they have a mix of units. They put this out as studio, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. And they have a approximate cost on affordability. We made them all 1 bedroom and studio. You can see how the dollar profit cost changes as you change these numbers around. So it is entertaining to kind of run, well, for a city planner. It is kind of entertaining to play with these numbers and see where they end up. I feel like I can't see the whole screen is the same, but that's okay. So affordable units as of the percent of the total, let's put in our 10% that we're aiming for there. No affordable fee. You can see how the project value went up.
Down.
And then down, excuse me, and then the area median income for a family. Well, that's actually pretty close to where we're at. It's real for a family of 4. It's around 80,000. So mortgage rate, they have it at 5%. It's probably closer to 7%. Insurance, HOA fees. We'll leave it with their estimates. I just feel like I need one. Sorry. It's really hard to do a computer this way. So thanks for bearing with me. So we're looking at breakdown of affordability standard 33%. We assume 0% down. We're looking at 80% AMI. I know the city talks about 100% AMI, so if we allow that, helps make the projects more doable. Because you have a larger range of people to pull from, and the costs are a little higher. The rents and costs are a little higher, so it makes the project easier to pencil out. Now we get into densities. Available incentives, make small. So we want to allow a density bonus of, if we want them to be able to go 50% higher, so let's put in 50%. So the profit goes up quite a bit, projected value profit. Go back down to 0, compare that. It was 2.5 profit, up to 50%.
And why is that?
Because you're giving them additional units. This is one of the key factors of making inclusionary zoning pencil for the developer. If we give them the additional units, they can use that to help offset the inclusionary required units, which we have left at 10% on this model.
Okay, so beyond our regular zoning, then we up from there. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. And this project that we just put in was 30 units on a 1 acre lot. So we said low rise, but it's low rise multi-family. I mean, it's a apartment complex with small units to get that density. And to get that density with the 30 required parking spaces on a 1 acre lot would require underground parking, and it would require, a taller structure. So if we go back up to the top and we turn that down to, well, maybe we just make it 2 acres instead of 1. Drops down the profit. At some point, it'll turn it to the point where it's not feasible. If I was to put in our current density, which is closer to, let's see, on a 1 acre lot. Still be pretty close, 20. Profit drops down to
2 acres.
Yeah, I'm 2 acres. Oh, I see. Yeah. Thank you. I was thinking 1 acre. Can you move that down to 1?
Mhm.
So that actually helped in that case. They went up instead of out, probably.
And we get 2 units at what'd you say, 10%? We get 2 units that are quote affordable out of this.
Lily, can I ask you a
But that was
question?
doubling their density too, allowing that 50%, excuse me.
Oh, that's right, 50%. Yeah, wow.
So regarding the math that kind of undergirds this whole exercise, I'm assuming this exercise is built with an assumption that most markets are inherently rational and will find their center. But I maintain that Leavenworth is an inherently irrational market, and that people want to move here because they want to move here, and whatever it costs, they'll do it. I mean, we're not Bend of the San Juans, but we're certainly trending towards there. I can remember how we were all scandalized less than 5 years ago up at Pinegrass for affordable luxury for around $575, and look where we're at right now. So I understand and recognize the argument this is the best tool we have, but if the question we're trying to answer is how many requirements are too much for developers to bear, do you think this tool still does the job when developers also pencil out folks' outsized desire to live here and how that directly affects the return on investment? So, I mean, put another way, given how desirable we are as a community, can we ask for more? Because our market is, in essence, irrational.
Well, the article that I included in your packet is an important component of that, because it talks about if your market is strong or your land value is high, it makes it feasible to do these programs. So it's one of the reasons why a program like this has a potential of working, even though we're such a small town, is because we have such high land values to begin with. But they'll mix the high-end market homes with a couple of low-end affordable units, and where does that still pencil for them? The other thing we're challenged with is we have developers in town who are small developers compared to, say, Wagner, which is a large developer. So they have deeper pockets to address things like soil conditions and buy up more land and make these projects happen. The smaller developers in town might really struggle with a program because they're just trying to deal with the high-end land costs and the irrational buying behavior.
But it's a boom or bust, right? I mean, that's riverboat gambling.
For the smaller developers, it is. And our local developers are generally considered smaller in scale. I don't know, does Steinbeck build much up here? I haven't seen any permits from him. In any case, so yeah, just down valley, he's one of the bigger developers in the region, but hasn't done anything in our area, probably because the land cost is too high.
Sure.
There is a button in here where we can play with the land cost. Let's see if I can locate that. Probably not on me.
maybe down lower.
Oh, land and construction. So we're at about, $50 a square foot for residential land, typically, historically, $10 to $20 a square foot for residential land was considered doable or high. 50 was considered commercial or industrial land. But right now, land costs for just raw land is $50 to $60 a square foot. So I did not bring my phone. I was trying to keep it away and now I have no calculator.
What do you need, Lilith? What do you
Type it
need?
out for me. Thanks.
I think construction costs are about 210, right?
That's on the, yeah, on the low end, at 250 to 350.
Is that right?
So,
Depends on the size of the
I mean,
project.
yeah, 2.2
2
million per acre. Oh, sorry. Okay. And then we'll stay conservative with construction, do the, let's do the 225.
Yeah, so you're lost. You're at a loss.
Yeah.
And that's with the 50% bonus increase and the smaller lot project. So if we were able to get land for a little bit less, say 1.6, can put in 1.6. If I do it,
These models, you almost have to start at this bottom page and work your way up
Yeah.
because of the construction costs. Because I mean, these are just in the
Yeah.
past couple of years even, and then, yeah.
yeah, so now that if we have this figured in there and you go back and we look at. We already have the density address, but parking is the other one. If we allow for fewer spaces, say 50% fewer spaces, keeping up 50%. It becomes profitable again.
No,
Like,
they're gonna make $13,000
Yeah.
to spend
Don't have
here.
to.
It's 20 million. Make
Oh.
13,000.
Profitable, but nobody's gonna touch it.
Yeah, probably not.
Profit is too low,
Yeah.
not feasible.
Uh,
Profitable, but not feasible. So, it's an interesting calculator. I strongly encourage you to play with it. You can go onto a realtor's website and like look at McDevitt's bare land, or there's some other bare land in town and figure out the cost per acre. And you do the calculations if you want, but that's kind of what I've
Is
calculated.
this all proportionate? I mean, if we start, I mean, this is 30 units or 20 units, going down to 6 units, right? We're talking about the cottage housing, right?
Well, cottage housing might help, but small lots helps. But if we go back up and put the base here at 40, and make that 40 units, it should make it more profitable. There you
I
go,
was thinking like.
feasible.
He's talking about, I mean, which I'm
Small.
curious about too. What if you put 6 or 8 in there?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, see how bad the number's gonna be?
So even,
You're a
so we
million
just
in
pass
the
this
hole.
cottage thing, it doesn't
Million
matter at the end of the day.
You gotta make the units a lot smaller
Yeah,
for cottage.
yeah, yeah, and cottage, you can't get that many units, right? You're gonna be spreading out on land and. The way to get these units to really pencil out will be in the commercial zones when you have mixed use and you can add that commercial component. Or even if it was just an apartment in the commercial zone where you can get the 50-foot height that we already allow. So,
Well, that's when we were talking about the one. Multifamily housing unit with retail, and then retail is out of that one, it's like, there's no, I mean, that's not gonna fly, right? With the retail and the parking, paid parking underneath. I think we've taken those out, and it's like, okay, it's not gonna work. Yeah.
well, and parking is still hard. And you see how many rocks they pulled out of the washed out lot, you know, there's a lot of rocks around.
Yeah.
So underground parking is really sketchy.
Yeah, that's.
But it's, parking is expensive, because you pay for the land to park the car there, and then you lose that land for the housing that you need. So,
This tool is really valuable. What is land right now in Down Valley, like in Dryden or Peshastin?
I don't know.
you know, if we went back into the cost of the lot.
Let's take this back up to 20. Just as so we have a good base. I
mean, it just seems-
but not doable. Let's see. And if we drop the land cost down to 1 million.
Still not feasible.
Because you're building 20 units, so
And how big was it? This is an acre?
this was the 1 acre side
Okay.
with 20
It must
units.
be, for an acre of land, you must be able to get it cheaper than for $1 million somewhere not too far from here. Anyway, I'm just thinking that, you know, we wanted this and we're talking about this in Leavenworth, but we're seeing it doesn't pencil out in a lot of ways. It makes me think about the basic value of land here and what a challenge that is. So could it be 5 miles away or 10 miles away and make a difference?
Well, it's actually more feasible here than it is in Dryden because they don't have a sewer system. And it's not to say that it's not feasible, it's just saying at what point does it need to be to make it feasible? That's all this is meant to show you that, hey, we do need to maximize the height. We do need to maximize the bonus densities. We do need to maybe even consider allowing a height bonus, additional height. And we probably should talk about parking, as unpopular as that is. And then if you look at the percent of income for the units, we went up to the 100 AMI. But if we had included even the lower units, then it makes sense to have no parking for those. So we've got to be very, very creative if we want to adopt a program that's actually going to be used.
So does this still have the 50% bonus figured in?
Yes, it did.
And not to bring it up again, but can we control who buys this, or it could be second home?
Well, the AMI controls who buys.
Right, but they don't have to live here. I mean,
They will have to.
Oh, they
will
would
have
have
to
to
live here.
live in it.
Yeah,
They can't be a second home.
Can't be a
I
second.
see.
you would
Not on the, you
Yeah, I
wouldn't
get it, I
qualify.
get it.
And to your question, Rona, currently in Peshastin, there's land. It's sloped. I don't think it's connected to utilities. 10 acres for $1 million right on Highway 2,
Oh,
current orchard.
oh,
Oh, yeah, no sewer there.
No, yeah, exactly. So your development challenges are much higher because you don't have the infrastructure.
but it's 10 acres.
Is that the one just out of town here
Just
by
out of town.
Praise, not the
Yep.
one further down? Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, no sewer there and not in its zoning is allowing for that.
Gotcha.
Further down where the Peshastin urban growth area crosses the highway and has the Y intersection. There's no sewer connected there, but they allow for commercial zoning across the highway, trying to encourage enough momentum to get a builder, developer in there who would bring that sewer under the bridge.
you talking about Bob Boyd's property?
I don't know.
Okay,
Is that where the storage units are?
it's across from the storage units. Yeah, yeah, it's the other side, okay.
Anyway, doable, it's just a matter of the factors. So I will be walking through all these really closely with the planning commission and talking it through. So know that they're digging in on that work. And if you have concerns with any of the factors, let us know before we get too far down the line, because I would like to be at a point where we can, you know, feel like we're all on the same page by the time the planning commission gives a recommendation.
The answer is gonna be going up a little bit, I think it's at
It
the
might
end of the
be,
day, yeah.
it might be.
This assumption.
It is the most effective way to get density is actually to go up and out and not out.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it also impacts a lot of things.
Do we know what we have available for land for that kind of development? We're just kind of like, not sure.
Well, you know, we don't have a ton. Don't have a ton. We have some land with land behind Safeway, stair is
Okay.
still there, that's developable.
They're like one of the bigger chunks.
Yeah, there's still some big land back there.
Okay.
would he be interested in doing a project like this? We've talked to a few developers in the past who are wanting to do low income, but they wanted to also mix it with short-term rentals. In the end, it didn't pencil for them. But since then, we've adopted the multifamily tax exemption, and so that might help. So we could always reach back to some of those developers.
Well, won't it also always come down to what's gonna make the most money for them? So, we could incentivize with this, but at the end of the day, it might be that to not get the quote 50 I guess you're talking about what's the percentage we give them? Is it 50 or is it 100 or whatever to make it enticing? Yeah, I get it.
That's the profit side, right? That's the profit piece. in the
Yeah,
middle.
can't avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, this one is they're gonna make $660,000, and it's not feasible.
Yeah, of course not.
Well, it sounds like a lot, but look at what they put in. They put in nine.
I'm saying
over
it's
$9
not, yeah, of course,
million.
you're trading dollars.
Yeah.
One unit goes south
Yeah.
and you're
Well,
losing, yeah.
pretty much. And then the other thing is they can make more money on the interest rate in the market right now.
Right.
Their 5% high-end savings account will earn more money than taking a risk building this project.
Yeah.
So that's why the feasibility is done.
So how do they factor the profit in this tool?
Well, it calculates all of these different variables, and it also calculates their land carrying costs and insurance costs. So you have a lot more variables.
Yeah, but so like at what point though does the profit make it feasible?
Well, for this particular specific example, let's try and see. I don't know the answer until we do that. Let's put in 100% density increase. See if that helps.
See, so
1.4.
so is it over 10%? So that 12% is it over 10% that they consider it feasible?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I get what you're saying.
12% here.
Yeah, so anything over 10% is considered feasible or, worthwhile.
To develop.
So we had a meeting with Our Valley, Our Future, and they had Hayden Homes there presenting, who's a new builder in town, and their building goal is to provide housing for people at the 100% AMI. Their goal as a business is to have a profit percentage closer to 4 to 6%.
4 to 6.
But they can do that because across the nation, they are building so many homes, it's still feasible.
Right.
And that's where we get back to where we were talking about the size of the developer. 4 to 6% for a smaller developer here in town who does, 3 or 10 units a year. It's not going to help carry them through. They're not going to have a big enough cushion. Their percentage has to be higher.
Yeah.
In order to ensure the longevity of their company. So.
Right.
That percentage for this model it looks like it's 10%. I hadn't played with it before.
Okay. Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I was just curious on.
That'll vary based on the developers available to you.
Right. Yeah.
So who's the developer that when actually what Our Valley, Our Future has been talking with or considering?
Oh, they had a presentation with, it's called Hayden Homes.
Caucasian?
Hayden, HYDEN.
Okay.
They're really nice. They have a great website. They have a lot of housing options that you can choose from, and it could be multifamily they have in there as well. So as a property owner, you could go in and say, yes, I'm doing a single family home. I want this size. They'll have models you can choose from. You can do a turnkey, which would enable you to just say, hey, I just want to push this button and you build the house for me and get all the permits and deal with all of the everything. So they have a turnkey option, or they have one where, homeowner can run in and do their own permits and get their sewer line connected or whatever, septic in the county if you were in the county. I ran through their program. I got a quote and an estimate. It was $250 a square foot. It was a great price for what it was. It is a small unit. It was 880 square feet, 2-bedroom, I think 1 bath. I added on a garage, right? So and then you add on all your extra items, what type of flooring you want, you click buttons and tell them what you want. But I couldn't get any developer in town to give me that low of a quote, I don't think.
And what was the quote again? What'd you say, 250?
I think it was right in that.
So we
Under
put
1,000 square feet.
We put
So-
225 in this model, so it was 250. Is that the same
We-
number you're talking about?
Well, we did lower. We were being very conservative on the cost. It's probably, most homes are being built here over $300
Yeah.
a square foot. Remember when Stephen Brewer provided us last year, maybe you weren't on council, provided us an estimate of what it was gonna cost to build one of the pre-approved ADU plans, and it was $325 a square foot.
Mm.
And that's why they couldn't actually use the pre-approved plan, because the cost of actual construction was still too high. So we were being super conservative here. But again, it depends on the builder. The Hayden Homes has duplexes and they have farm worker housing too.
Are they actually considered building in Wenatchee?
Yeah, they are actively marketing to Chelan and Douglas County residents. You go to their website, you put in where you're from, and they'll adjust the cost of your fees and all of the turnkey items based on where you're at. So they've done their research to kind of see what our fees are and put it in their system and calculate it out.
And they're actually willing to deal with a 4 to 5% profit. These guys.
Yeah, because they build enough.
Right,
Because in Texas, they're getting 15%,
right.
right? I mean, so just mitigating it, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just sharing them.
Does, the fact that we live in a wildfire community, does that affect anything? I mean, I know that one of the insurance companies, the big insurance companies, come January, a lot of us are gonna find out
Mhm.
don't have
Mhm.
insurance.
Mhm. Yeah, that doesn't affect the cost of construction. It affects your ability to get a loan or maintain your loan, because you have to have insurance, so your bank may have issues if you're not allowed, if you can't get fire coverage. But that's cost of construction. Hayden Homes hasn't accounted. I didn't see that they had accounted for our wildland urban interface building code requirements, so that's one of the things I have on my list to reach out to them about and have them include.
How much is that half of the cost of the average house?
Well, it depends on what components are adding. We do require the hardy board siding, so I need to check with Hayden Home to see if that was what they were using. But if it's the front porches and things, those all have to be wrapped and enclosed, and the soffits have to be enclosed. When we adopted it, we had a cost estimate spent on that.
It's sort of ironic that in this artisan small town, we have to go with the biggest, some kind of national builder to create our property in a way that can be affordable, because I want to make it local. I want local builders to be able to build this stuff.
And those are the ones that
It's
have
quite
the trouble,
ironic,
right?
yeah.
They should lower their prices.
It's tough to do. when
You can't, by the point, yeah,
I
the
know.
point is you can't.
It's tough to do.
Yeah.
Especially when you start with the high land value.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we'll be working on with the planning commission. Like I said, play with it and have questions and concepts, let me know.
Right. Great.
There you go.
Where are we at?
We're done with study,
Future,
unless people want to talk about future.
future items.
I have a question. I'm curious, the hotel, we were at the Sylvie and Mayor Flory and I were at the AWC annual conference last week in Vancouver. And I got my hotel bill and they have this, they have the state tax, city tax, county lodging tax, and a tourism fee. Is that a city, did this hotel add that and they're taking that, or is that, can that be a city fee versus a tax?
Tourism fee.
I would
interesting.
think it's a city fee
Yeah,
to be used for 4
fees
months.
versus taxes,
Yeah.
fees versus taxes, okay.
Right.
Fees versus
Kind of
tax.
plain to
That's
see.
what we're always looking for, right? The
Yeah.
Fee versus tax.
Yeah. But I would bring that up, that's it.
I have an agenda thing.
Okay,
As I'm trying to get familiar with the way government works, which doesn't to me always make sense. And one thing that doesn't make sense to me is the abstaining being a vote yes. I don't get that. So, my favorite poet is William Stafford. He was from Oregon. He became the poet laureate of the United States. And after I abstained to vote, which I really just wanted to abstain, like purely abstain, I thought of a line from one of his poems, which is the answers we give, yes, no, or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep. And I was thinking about the human agency to say yes, no, or I'm not sure right now. And I want to know if we can change it so that when we abstain, it actually means we're abstaining. So it's a government thing that I think is slightly dysfunctional. So my word. So can we do anything about that?
The abstention going with the majority vote is actually written into your council rules,
Right.
which is what you adopt in January of every year.
Okay.
Rules are brought to you by staff for you to discuss and make any edits to. And then last year that's when we put in a process for excusing absences that didn't exist prior. We compared the rules with the new ethics code as well to make sure that they were in sync. But it's within these rules that it calls out that an abstention is a motion with the majority vote. It doesn't say it's affirmative.
It doesn't say.
It goes with the majority.
That's what an abstention means.
right.
According to your rules.
Right.
Now, the vast majority of my experiences in Massachusetts, and abstentions were abstentions. They're exactly
Right.
that. You didn't get counted with the majority
Right.
vote. So I don't know if this is something within RCW. The only place I've ever seen this is within your rules.
Right here in Leavenworth.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it's quite in keeping with the feeling of the person that may be voting. So you're saying we can't do anything about it until the beginning of voting, or abstaining or whatever, placing their opinion. We can't do anything about it until next year.
No, if you're the council. I'm saying that in past practice, in January of every year, you revisit your rules. Does not mean that we couldn't do it in the middle of the year.
Okay, well, anyway, for me,
I agree. I'm with you.
just seems a little more accurate.
We'll just, check and see if that's rooted somewhere else that doesn't
Yeah, I
allow
will.
it, or if it's
I will do
just
it.
within
Yep.
ours.
Again, the vast majority of my experiences from Massachusetts, we have different laws there.
Okay,
So
Yeah,
we can
thanks.
check and see if,
yeah, thanks.
So you want it to be a no, not a positive or a negative?
Yes, that's what I'd like it to
Abstention.
mean.
either yes or no.
Carl, I've got a couple of agenda things.
Okay.
I'd like to know, so when Ariana Jones came up with Waste Loop, I'd like to know where we're at with how we're supporting Waste Loop. Because I think she asked for some movement from the council. I'll get back to her. But when I talked to her last time, she was kind of waiting so she could come for a presentation at council. So
She was looking for money for glass, which she got from the
Yeah,
chamber.
she got it.
that's all,
Yeah, we can't pay for her glass. I've told her this. It is not a Leavenworth city operation. It is a regional thing that she broadcasts out. We cannot have our enterprise fund absorbing the cost for something that is larger than Leavenworth.
because she's in an area bigger than the city.
Oh, she's taking glass from every.
From everybody, and they don't check IDs.
Okay.
They do check ideas for yard waste.
Yeah.
I still have not had my ID checked, but they know me now.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
know you, that's the difference.
Must be nice.
So,
It'll happen to you, Shane.
so is that kind of like, we really can't help out Waste Loop as far as the glass thing?
Correct.
Okay.
And we do hire them to run that facility, so I think
Right.
we're helping them out there.
Right, okay. The other thing was, I wanted to find out where we're at as far as changing the code on limiting construction hours during national holidays. I like that brought up. Or put that in a study session of how we're gonna do that.
Okay.
And the other thing I wanted to
It
do
won't
was.
be all holidays. You can't pick or choose.
Right.
I mean,
Ah.
it's 4th of July, it's Juneteenth,
Mhm.
it's Memorial Day, it's Labor Day. You can't
If you
say
say
these
federal
holidays.
holidays.
If you say holidays, it's holidays. It's Columbus Day, it's Veterans Day. It's all these days that are recognized as federal holidays. We can't slice and dice holidays.
We should get a lot of push.
That's what our council said. That's what our legal
Legal
team
team
said.
says.
Oh, our legal counsel says that.
Yes.
So so,
It's either all holidays or it's just another day.
and that goes by federal holiday,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Okay.
So think
Federal
about the
holiday.
consequence. Do you want to prevent
Right.
people from working on their shed on
Columbus Day.
Right.
July?
So you can't protect people on Thanksgiving, New Year's,
You can't.
Christmas.
separate out.
Cannot.
Away.
huh? That seems kind of ridiculous.
And what time's it? 8 in the morning or 7?
I think we already started at 7.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah.
Well, we could start at 8 or 9 on those days.
Well, it might
They
be,
talked about starting later on the weekend or something like that. That if you dealt with, again, all things. Problem
Right,
you run into
right.
when you try to start,
Universal.
you're making choices as to whose holidays are important.
Mhm.
And that's where you get the tricky piece.
right.
Well, if it's federal, though, we can't do anything about that.
Well, no, I'm saying then it's all,
I-
but I'm saying if you tried to say Christmas and Thanksgiving are the two, then what about a holiday that I
Day.
sponsor that's
And
important
this
to me?
stems from a nuisance. People were upset about this.
Yeah,
Like-
right. I got a call several years ago on Thanksgiving morning from somebody who was, they were building on at 7 o'clock right next door. So,
I wouldn't mind talking about that. I think,
Having
We
a
should
call
do
a
that.
couple years ago, I don't know, is this a thing? I'm not
um,
trying to shout, I'm just saying,
right.
is this worth
What's the
discussing?
relevance of it?
Yeah.
We already kind of discussed it, didn't we?
Right, we
Yeah.
did.
Well, I didn't really chime in, now we're just, I mean, I
We
don't
couldn't get
believe
what
that
we
this is a
wanted,
real
though.
thing, I don't know if it's. 7 o'clock in the morning is 3 hours after the sun gets up of some of the, many
Well,
of these
how would you-
holidays.
So let me put it this way, Travis. Do you like Thanksgiving Day morning, someone's building on their house, 7 o'clock on Christmas Day or Thanksgiving? Is that okay with you? Because if it is, then it isn't an
Well,
issue.
it's another day, today's a day, it's like celebrities put their pants on one leg at a time, a
wait,
holiday,
wait,
it's a
wait,
holiday, it's a day of the
It's
year.
not a day. It's a day, it's a national day, this in this
You're
culture.
asking me if I personally, if it affects me, and I'm telling you, it
Yes.
does not,
Oh,
no, it's another day.
all right,
My birthday's another day,
right.
get up and my kids getting, I don't expect birthday cake and. as a
Well,
kid,
I can
yeah.
guarantee you there's enough folks who, if that happened next to them on those days, that would be a real issue.
And that's fine, I'm asking, you said a couple of years ago, one person called you, I'm asking if this is a thing or not. It doesn't sound like it's a real,
Oh, am I getting multiple calls? It hasn't happened that often.
Yeah.
to Be honest.
Well, and one thing is if they're constructing something, hopefully it gets built up before the next holiday.
Yeah, I found the email from, we did discuss this, when Nikki was present at that meeting, if you recall.
Yeah.
I just unearthed the follow-up email that I had from her. And she does stick to if we're gonna do that, it's gonna be federal, state, or city observed holidays, which would be all of them.
Okay,
well, I mean, I don't mind talking about this and making it 8 o'clock even, or 9 o'clock, I don't mind talking about it.
yep, I think we're.
Isn't it on the list of things? I thought it was still on the list. It's on the list of things of topics to bring back, just not on the list for the next 3 meetings.
Okay. All right,
I'd like to see what you have in writing with the overnight parking with big vehicles on the city streets and the police going around, so to speak.
I don't have.
I mean, you said something at one of the meetings that the police were gonna take care of the,
Yeah, we have it existing in our code that there's no camping on residential streets.
okay, but it's happening and I'm wondering why. I said this morning,
Have you made a complaint?
It's complaint.
do I complain to the sheriff's
You can complain to
department?
the sheriff's
And
department, or you can
they-
complain to our parking department.
they're complaint driven, so you'd call out parking like Shannon Lemon.
Okay,
I did mention that they weren't gonna patrol for this, but they would help us out
oh, I thought you said they were gonna go for it. So how are they helping us out?
if we call and
If
complain.
we call and complain?
Right.
Oh, okay, so.
Shannon's, it's amazing how, she's so sharp too, she's acutely aware, when she see, she's going up to, I you know, I know there's cases, it sounds like there's cases where you're seeing the same vehicle for many days, but I feel like she's always about, and she's.
Yeah, but she's not coming around at night to see the overnight parking in the neighborhoods.
Yeah,
She doesn't do that I know of.
but there's overnight, but allowed, it's allowed, right?
No, can't overnight.
You can't sleep in your vehicle on the street.
All right.
Any kind of
Any
vehicle.
large planes, okay. I didn't be aware of this, okay, I got a man's been on Commercial Street and for like, okay.
But how often does it happen?
Oh, it does.
But again, like any enforcement, there's unintended consequences. Zeke
Right.
found out we have a resident whose son routinely comes and parks his RV on the street outside her condo and stays there for however
Right.
many nights. That person's not allowed to do that. They never have been allowed to do that, but we haven't enforced it.
Right, there are, that's.
So if we're gonna enforce, we're gonna enforce, but it will be complaint driven. Because we're not going out there at midnight looking
Looking
for
for it
RVs.
Yeah,
Right.
If somebody calls it in, then it gets cited.
Anna, can you call it in anonymously?
you can file it, any, yeah,
Because this world today is pretty scary.
yeah, you can.
I don't want
yeah.
my name out there and somebody come along and shoot me.
You call it in anonymously, if they ask, would you like the officer to speak to you, you say no. We're good, and you
Oh.
watch out your window and he engages
Yeah,
them.
you
and
make
you're-
an anonymous complaint.
You can, okay, well, your phone number shows up for them. I just wanted somebody would say, well, who was it that blah, 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 and then the next
And the
night
officer
they're
points
chasing me
over.
across the street.
It's kind of
It was, I
funny.
mean, the world is crazy right now.
It
It's
is.
not very
Legitimate
It's
trustworthy.
always been that way.
Huh?
Legitimate concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it was a able-bodied person, I mean, I hesitate calling that stuff, and I don't engage people, I don't know you, I'm with you, I mean, anybody, I mean, it's a different world.
So
I don't know if,
we don't have anybody then that drives around at all.
Looking.
I mean, even if they just made one trip at night through the city.
No, correct, no,
nobody.
we don't have anybody
Okay.
working that time of day.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'll just park there.
Oh, you can call, and we can, Randy should be attending for his update.
Oh, he's not.
He's not.
No.
Oh.
Look.
Well, Randy's not gonna be here, otherwise I would have said, let's bring it up to Randy. But I did,
We'll let him know.
but I did speak with him about
Yes.
this. I ran through our ordinance with him. He said, yes, we will help enforce this. But he didn't say that they're gonna control and look.
Right.
Oh, see, I think I heard you say, no.
I didn't sleeping soundly, said.
here's one thing I'd like to bring up is, on these meetings, the Life 2 stuff coming up in the fall. So I received a survey that Chelan is doing the same thing. They're doing these meetings and, in fact, Curtle's the one that sent it to me. I don't know if the rest of the council got that, but it's a survey that's done by,
Yeah.
All Valley of Future, which is an excellent survey that they're sending out before the meetings happen. And I guess I don't know if it's an agenda item or just, I want to make that recommendation that as a council and as a city, that would be a good thing for us to gather that information before those 3 meetings, so that we have a sense of where people are and what's the topics and issues. So I don't know, do we need to do that as a council, or did city administrators do that, or?
Kara has the survey. She'll be adapting it for our needs and she'll get it out this summer.
We're planning, those things are just in process now, so
Okay,
it's all happening. In fact, we have our first meeting tomorrow with Mike Nash, who's doing the facilitating.
okay.
Okay, because I started to fill it out, but it really was,
Yeah, that was
I don't-
Chelan,
it
Lake
makes sense.
Chelan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll take that survey, we'll adapt it specific to Leavenworth, and we'll get it out this summer. In
Great.
advance of those meetings.
Okay.
I think the other thing it gives us, besides what Z said, is finding out what the citizens want, is getting the citizens thinking about it
Thinking
sooner.
about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really
Finding
important.
the
So
parents who-
I'd like to be sure that the survey has pieces in it that are open-ended too. You know, what do you care about? Not just, how do you rank this? I want to make sure we can hear from them what's on their mind, in case we don't anticipate it.
could get some great ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Curville is here. Thank you for sending us that survey.
Yeah.
There's currently a survey out there and naming our new Vector truck.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's right.
So if you haven't,
So if you haven't voted
you haven't
yet,
voted yet,
You didn't choose
Where
my
can we
name on
find
the
it?
other,
Not as
so I'm not
fun.
doing this one.
No, there were.
Well, did you want your names make the top five?
No.
So.
Where do we find that?
Very
survey?
hard.
It's city website.
I'll email it to the council. I'll find it.
All right,
That's better.
I want to get it now.
Let's take a break before we gather again at 7. Call the meeting for June 25th of Leavenworth City Council to order. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Wait.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Sharon Waters.
Clint Strand.
Zeke Royster.
Shane Thayer,
Rona Barron.
Travis McMaster.
And I'd ask for a motion to excuse in Hesper for some minor reason. At the wedding this week.
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
can I abstain?
If you need.
That's voting in favor. All right, she is excused. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Do you have any questions? Okay, no, okay, all those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. Comments
Believe
from
it or not.
the public on items not on the agenda? Do you have anything they want to comment? Do we have anybody on?
Only John Sean's attending via Zoom if he's actually paying attention.
No,
Well, he's
I was like, I don't
not,
see him.
no.
no comments. All right.
You may have a comment.
Concerns about former or upcoming.
If it's not on our agenda, if what you want to comment isn't on our agenda, then this is the time.
Oh,
Okay, so you want to come up?
I would love to.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Please come up. to the
come
podium.
up.
That on? Yeah, good.
So I am really concerned about the Front Street closure. I'm a business owner. It has a high impact on our business. And the closure, and worse than that, as a citizen, it's been embarrassing. It's the infrastructure in the downtown core does not accommodate closing off the street, opening everything up for view. Every morning when I come to work last year, I was so embarrassed. It looks horrible. It's a staging area for a construction zone. There's just no pride in it. And the infrastructure is falling to pieces. I mean, if you at least cover it up, you don't see it. But yeah, there's just no pride. And COVID's gone. I'm just not understanding why it's not open back up. We've lost almost 190 parking spaces. Parking was an issue before. And I don't understand why it's closed. You have businesses out in the streets, just a select few, and it's closed. I mean, anywhere you go, it's just a negative comment about the town. The residents, I hear it all day long. I'm downtown, I hear it. It's residents, it's tourists, it's everyone. It's a negative impact to the community. And I just want to voice my concern.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you for a little
No,
clarification?
this is just listening.
Oh, okay. I can talk to you another
Talk
time.
to you another time. Yep, right.
Okay.
Names and addresses
Debbie
at this period of meeting?
Oh, yeah.
I would just like your name. I don't need your address. Debbie McNair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
We have public safety reports. Our Corporal Randy Lake, let me know he wouldn't called out, wasn't able to make it. So we do, I think, have online Mike Smith.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
Can you hear
Mike.
me?
Barely.
That any better?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, so we did bring on our this is from about 12 days ago, but that week we brought on our fuel mitigation crew. They're going to be out doing project work, a lot of brushing and clearing along some egress routes. But the biggest impact it kind of brings is it puts a second brush truck in service for the 4 days a week that crew's on, which will be all the weekends through the end of August. We finished our first big project that the fire district's ever done at milepost 11. We did an egress route improvement, about half a mile there. And we've already identified and are getting ready to start on a second project along the Chumstick near Station 32. I'm sure you guys wonder why we focus so much on the Chumstick. And one of the reasons is that it's been declared as sort of an emergency zone. And so we've been able to get a lot of funding specifically for the Chumstick zone, but we still offer chipping to everyone in the fire district, and we're going to continue to expand those programs so that everybody that doesn't live on the Chumstick doesn't feel neglected. We also entered an agreement with Cascadia Conservation District to perform defensible space work around 15 properties in the fire district, and that could be anywhere. That can be in the city, Icicle, Chumstick, doesn't matter. They'll identify those properties for us, and we'll go out and do the work. And they allowed us 2 days per property. We'll remove whatever fuels, chip it, and mitigate that issue. As far as training, I wanted to thank Public Works. They gave us access to the city property, past the Icicle Bridge, where we've traditionally done swiftwater training there. The neighboring department, Fire District 6, was also able to attend, and it allows us to do, mock incidents using our rescue swimmers as fake victims in the water. It allows our responders to actually throw bags and pull victims out of the water, and practice some other techniques and stuff. So we were really appreciative of that. As far as response, we've run 286 calls. This was back on the 13th. That was down 322 from last year, but we've actually been getting pretty inundated, several days, 6, 7, 8 calls a day. So I'm predicting right now, if it holds like this for very long, we'll catch up and probably eclipse last year and between 700 and 800 calls. So anybody have any questions?
Various things.
I have a question and a comment. In under general, your first black dot, it says they will also keep a second brush truck in service 4 days a week. Is that a borrowed one, or do we have two?
No, we actually have 3 dedicated brush trucks, brush 31, 33, 39. And then we also have our rescue rig is a type 3 brush engine. So technically we have 4. And they'll be using a brush truck when they're out doing their work. So if we get a fire, they'll just hop in the truck and respond direct.
Okay, I wanted to thank your department. I had reason to call 911 a few days ago, and your young folks that came were excellent, absolutely excellent.
That's good to hear. They are some of the best and brightest that this particular town has to offer. So.
Yeah.
Any other questions or?
I have one thing. This is Rona Barron, Mike. Thanks for chipping the cherry brushes, the brush in our front yard. We
no
finally
problem.
got it done. And it was super, super helpful that you did that. So thank you. I didn't even know that was a service.
Oh, absolutely. No problem. And feel free to spread the word if you know anybody else, or if anybody knows anybody that needs any chipping done. We're going to be kind of out and about all summer long.
Oh, good. I will. Yeah, thank you.
So Mike, just to clarify, you just come up to if someone calls you come to the residence and they have their brush stacked there and you take care of it. Is that the deal?
Yep. Yep. So we send out a thing on Facebook. We try to get the word out and everything, but yeah, it's available. And we used to do just spring and fall, but we had people that would call all throughout the summer with piles. So we decided we're going to sporadically hit some days throughout the summer when the need finally arises and our list gets up.
All right. Thank you.
And that's only in city limits?
No,
Anywhere in the fire district.
fire
Okay.
district. All right, any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank all of you.
Yep. All right, moving on, resolutions, ordinances, orders, and guess what? We've got one whole item here. Tom,
Tom's last item.
the last item to bring up, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Stop smiling, Tom. We don't want you to go.
Slower.
Stop it.
What? So yeah, this is just a housekeeping item. In summary, I don't remember the exact time frame, but approximately before I started, Levelland House Apartments started, and they installed some stormwater BMPs that did not function 100% or as expected. So ultimately, in order to mitigate that, they enhanced the storm sewer system in Zeltstrasse and installed a new outfall that went to the Wenatchee River to the north of Riverbend Drive. And as part of that process, the city, we agreed to take over, I mean, that's a public storm sewer system, so we agreed to take over the outfall structure, and that property was ultimately deeded to the city. So that's our city's responsibility to maintain that storm sewer system. However, there is a piece of that storm sewer system that is co-managed. So it's the storm sewer system that's in Riverbend Drive is in Chelan County right away. So what this operation and maintenance agreement does just basically clarifies roles and responsibilities in the event something were to occur with the storm sewer system. Basically, anything that's within Chelan County right away, the county's going to maintain. But everything north of Riverbend Drive, it just spells out that it's on the city to maintain. And this again just formalizes those roles and responsibilities. And I do want to thank Chelan County. They were easy to work with this process. Our legal counsel had some wishes that normally would go, it's not as smooth, but the public works anyway in Chelan County, they're super awesome. I disagree. So.
Questions or? I would entertain a motion.
The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute the proposed interlocal agreement for operations and maintenance of a portion of the Riverbend Drive and Zeltstrasse stormwater system between Chelan County and the city of Leavenworth.
Second.
Moved by Sharon, seconded by Zeke. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hands. Passes unanimously.
I'd just like to say this is about an 8-year project.
Yeah.
Wow.
It started when I first came on council. And
Oh, wow.
boy, what a battle.
It's done. Put it to bed. Council report, Sharon.
Oh, we're there all quickly.
Yeah, I know.
If I could just get my paper. Very short, you'll be glad, start applauding now. Okay, on June 17th, the Hopkins Memorial Pool opened for the summer of 2024. So we're really totally excited and exhausted, but it's finally here. Okay, June 17th, I attended the mosquito board meeting in the evening. Despite early start to the season, it's been a relatively cool spring with lower than average snowpack. Initially, the early June peak in the rivers was predicted to be quite high, like 2.5 feet higher than it ended up being. Two of the mosquito workers, Denny Mullins, who's the manager, and Terry Sessions, who's been an employee for a long time, have been able to handle the workload without help. So currently, all is well. June 25th, which was this morning, I attended the Downtown Steering Committee meeting, and I will pass the report to Clint, Zeke, or Selby. You guys can fight over it. And just as a note, on Thursday, June 20th at 12 a.m., I did a face plant on my kitchen floor, which required a trip to the ER and some days of recuperation, with today being my debut back into the outside world. And I wanted to mention, if you're not planning on doing this, your cocoon thing, I'd like to hear about it.
Me?
Yeah, what do you know about cocoon?
Well, it was a thing that you got a award.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it just said cocoon, so I thought,
Ask about
yeah.
Okay.
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on.
Thank you. First, it's good to be back. Thank you for everyone for your patience, as 2024 has been a lot. But I anticipate and excited to be part of all of you all these discussions moving forward. I did attend the Downtown Steering Committee meeting earlier today. I would like to defer that report to either Zeke or Selby. Come on, it's my first day back, guys.
We just.
Give me some slack.
Yeah. we'll allow it.
But other than that, no other reports. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Thought I was gonna duck that one, but I was wrong.
You can pass it to Shelby.
Yeah,
Good.
still right.
Yeah, good.
Just keep ducking.
So my report's pretty short. On the 20th, Shane and I attended the finance committee meeting with Chantel. Basically, we reviewed all of the capital improvement projects. We got a review of what was on queue or where it was coming up. That was just a big overview, which was really helpful and kind of got a good review after we talked about a report on Public Works about the 19 projects we've got going. So that was a real helpful thing, Chantel. So thanks for that.
212 million in projects over 6 years.
Yeah, not bad for a
Yeah.
town of 2,200. Jeez. I did actually show up at the downtown steering committee. But here's what I'll do. I'll just talk about parking and you can have the rest, Selby. Okay. So Sharon gave a parking report. May brought in $173,000 for May. No, actually there was, I don't know, the 19,000. There's additional $19,000, which I don't know where it came from.
It's fines.
Oh, okay.
Paid
So-
tickets.
Parking is doing very well. That's how, and Sally made a good point of referencing that if people want to know how the WASDOT or Glacier parking lot is being paid for, which is a $4 million project, it is from the parking fund that's making that all happen. So it is going somewhere and it's getting a lot done for us. They've also, we're gonna go citywide with the kiosks, which has been really effective and more user-friendly. And they've got beautiful system that's getting standardized as far as people. Part of the issue with parkers and residents and tourists was just understanding and reducing the confusion of using the system. So kiosk seems to be very successful in making that happen. So, and also there is multiple places for free parking in this town. And I'm not sure how we get that information out there, but Selby went through there must have been 8 places at least that he ID'd where parking was free. So, and I don't think people, even the residents, even know that. And that's the end of my report.
I also attended the finance committee meeting on June 20th. Like Zeke said, it was a really good overview of the capital improvement projects. And then on last Friday, June 21st, I volunteered and attended the Upper Valley Aquatic Boosters Summer Splash Bash, which was a great event. I'll have to say, I don't think I've attended an event like that, at least not for that I can remember. It was really cool to see the engagement and the just how many people were there. I mean, we were at capacity. There was a line out the door at one point for letting people in. We had hot dogs and chips, and Whistlepunka lent us their ice cream cart, so we had ice cream down there. And I put together a small video edit that I just finished today, and hopefully I plan to send that over to Kara and hopefully get that out on some social media sites. It was a great event, perfect weather. I mean, it was warm, and great day for the pool.
Great.
Nice.
Well, I just wanted to mention, you probably all know the farmer's market is open downtown now, and I've attended it, and they said their sales are already better than they have been. So I'm really thrilled about that. I'm very supportive of the farmer's market. And I had both a finance and parking committee meeting, but I wasn't able to go because I was in Seattle getting my stitches out from my throat surgery. There's my scar. And so that's good that that's done. It was causing my body to pull calcium out of my bones and circulate extra calcium into my bloodstream, which was creating a lot of issues. So that's one of the 4 medical things that has been now operated on. So that should help some. And then about the parking committee, though, I want to mention that the signage now is so much better. And I just think it'll be so helpful to help people organize. I didn't realize that we had 8 spots, and you don't mean on streets, you mean like little lots or something. Where
Place through, like, right here behind the city lot, that's a free place. Okay, and so I don't think people have got it in their heads, just part of the pool parking is free.
Yeah.
There's a little niche behind the 76 station. There's 100 of them at Safeway, which people probably blow off because it's too far. But there's stuff that's closer into town that you, I'm not sure how to get that word out, but.
Yeah, so that I'm glad to know that that's helpful, and we should talk about it. And then the final thing I wanted to say is that every so often, I haven't been very social because I've been home a lot, but every so often I get out and I'll meet someone who will go, oh, I wanted to tell you da da da. And as a council member, they'll tell me something that they've been thinking about. And sometimes I don't know them. They're just like, oh, you're Rhoda Barron. Well, I want to tell you da da da. So anyway, that happened to me a couple of days ago, and her issue was environmental stuff. And I've been going down to the river every day because that's how I'm doing icing. I'm getting in the Wenatchee. And I'm seeing a lot of people at Barn Beach, but I'm not seeing a lot of awareness of how to behave at the river system, how to behave with the wildlife, the birds, the garbage, the dogs. And so that's just an opportunity, I think, to create some more environmental awareness in a place that people visit a lot. That's my report.
Last week, attended the Leavenworth Area Promotions Committee meeting, and then drove to Vancouver and attended the Association of Washington Cities conference for a couple days with Selby and Mayor Florian. I mean, I hear you, Zeke, we and all of us watched increasing tourists, but when we've got Leavenworth Area Promotions in our chamber are just so good at getting people here, and the numbers are amazing, and the amount of money that they spend, and when you look at which is low compared to what the return is, it's just so efficient and it's so on point in all the numbers, and that's why I said even earlier we all kind of agreed that it'll settle down below 3 million, back to 2022 numbers nationally, and we're insulated a little bit, and we had a banner year last year. A lot of other even tourist towns felt a slump last year, and we didn't. But and when I say slump, it's going to be 2.5 million people, not 3. So that was effective. That was a good meeting. And I get into more specifics if you guys want to email me. Because I want to spend more time on the Association of Washington Cities. I urge any council members, if you have the time, the city paid for me to go and we paid for you. It was really amazing. Cities all around the state, big and small. I mean, Seattle's too good to be there, but a lot of smaller cities like us. And it was really, I've got to follow up with you, Selby, on the TIF meeting that I went to, and creating a TIA. And so I did take the time. It was also, I said to Ron earlier, it was cool to have the Leavenworth badge. We are so great, right? And so many people around the state have visited here as children, and now they're in city government or they're working for their cities. And it was really, I was so proud to be a part of Leavenworth and be at this conference, and for the state and the city. I did see at 11 o'clock, before one of the breaks, there were some tables and there were some placards you could put out and have discussions. And there was a parking one sitting that nobody was using. And I said, at 1 o'clock, can you put on the app and push out that I'm going to do a parking table? So at 1 o'clock, I put the placard out and was kind of sitting there, and I had 7 people fill up my table, and especially Leavenworth hosting this parking thing. It was the city of Mercer, city administrator came, Mercer Island, Walla Walla, and they're really pushing, the wine and their tourism, asking about parking. Mercer Island had a lot of community concerns, I think that we have and still do, right? Parking. So that was their big things. How do you manage that? Roslyn, one of their city council member had come, and he was really proactive. I mean, their mayor's fifth generation Roslyn, and it's a small town, and they don't want the tourists like we do, and they don't have the, and they don't need it, and that's just not their thing. But they have those 24 cemeteries that draw a lot of people, and so parking is, you know, how do we kind of capitalize for our community with the parking? And it was a really great discussion. I think I believe that I held the city in good light in these discussions. It seemed like I knew what I was talking about. So it was a really great week. And if anybody has any questions, later email me. It was a really fun event, meeting a lot of different people.
Roslin's the only city I know that has a volunteer paid parking.
Yeah, that's really, I had to brought that up. Yeah.
Yes.
Volunteer pay.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
Donate.
And I think what he had said was on a weekend, yeah, I mean, I think that they received like $7 or $14 at the end of the weekend.
The guy I talked to wasn't very happy with him. He felt like you can't do it this way.
Yeah. He was a go-getter.
He said we need to get real with it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So that's all I have.
Change that.
No,
About your cocoon.
Cocoon award.
I know, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so I worked for actually an Austrian family owns this brand Cocoon, and we've been in the US founder and family owned. They didn't, you know, we've been around for 35 years. We've sold into REI since 1991. We're in about every luggage store in the country. But we haven't sold out and sold out to a conglomerate that owns a bunch of outdoor travel brands. And my son, who lives with me, runs our warehouse here. So it's a family through and through. Travel goods brand, inflatable U-shaped pillows, Coolmax blankets, merino wool, silk travel blankets. So when airlines stopped giving blankets, I saw a lot of those. And so with the Travel Goods Association, I was at one of the city council meetings in the hotel room. I don't remember. So on my phone, and at this event, at this trade show, and received an award for best
Health product.
travel health. It was for our towel, and it's really, really cool. They like, it's like they wanted to give us an award so bad because I put in for a sustainability award, and they're like, oh, we kind of shifted you over to this one, and it was really a great thing. And they actually came, and I sent it to the Leavenworth area promotions. They just launched. They came up and interviewed me in Leavenworth, and did a whole thing because it's a very well produced video. In the beginning, he's on the phone. Hey, Josh, I just talked to Travis with Cocoon. He lives in this Bavarian town, and it's an Austrian brand. We got to go see him. And so it was like journey up to come to Leavenworth, and we were walking around town, and they were kind of interviewing me, and they went down to Wenatchee, where our warehouse was, and it really highlights, you know, Leavenworth at a really high level. So it's really unique for an Austrian family, and they've come here, and they were here last spring, and oh yeah, that's authentic, and oh, those words, and that's right, and they've been here before, but they really enjoy coming here. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so at the conference that you were at, it's always fun to network and talk to others from other cities and all of that. But the most exciting conversation I had was, for the first time ever, the Airbnb sponsored was one of the prime sponsors of this event. And they asked the CEO of AWC, said, we want to meet with the mayor of Leavenworth. So I had a sit-down meeting with Airbnb. They're going to come to Leavenworth later. They want to talk about how they can work with us to get something passed that would tax them to help us. So a big turnaround.
What's the catch? Do they
We'll find out when they come. We'll find out when they come. But it was a great initial conversation that they had opposed what we tried to do last year. But that was 10%. What they're looking for is something that's across the board that would also look at hotels as well as them. And they would actually, the offer is that they would help get it passed if we will work with them on it. So they're meeting with the senator that sponsored that bill last year. And then they're going to come and meet and get get here to see it. They came from California. That's where they're based. So anyway, that was the most fun and hopeful conversation. We talked for an hour or so. It was fun, and let's hope something productive comes from it. So
Can you remind us what the 10% was?
the 10% was a tax on short-term rentals only. It wasn't applying, but it was, and it made it all the way through the Senate and most of the way through the House before it didn't come out of the last committee at the last of.
Okay.
So it was
And-
close to.
And Verbo was in support of that.
The RBO actually
I think there was somebody in the
testified
industry that was-
in
Under
support of
what?
it, but Airbnb was against it.
Oh, I see.
Um,
I get it. Huh.
So now they want to talk about how they could support something, but. Anyway, that was
Wow,
fun. And just to let you know, I knew this about Tom a long time ago, because when he first came to me and said he was applying, I says, bye.
No kidding.
I knew where it was headed. So he kept saying, oh, no, it's a long process. Oh, no. And I go, no, I know.
You keep taking your lunches down in Wenatchee or what's going on? Yeah.
And I've already told them off.
He's
down
terrible.
there.
No,
I
you tell him
know.
he's terrible.
Hey,
They don't
I
want
know,
him.
I already
We're trying to
told
get
them
rid of
that.
him.
I did my best, but anyway, no, as I told him, I say it to everybody. I'd rather have somebody like Tom for 3 years than somebody who's just biding their time and, looking at an easy chair to fill. So he's got us on a good path. We just have to find somebody to keep that going. So, but he turned a lot of things around. So it's 3 years here. So appreciate him. Selby.
Thanks, Mayor. The 43 new parking kiosks are on order. So thank you, council, for authorizing that appropriation last meeting. And they'll be deployed as soon as possible. Shannon and her team are actually meeting with the vendor tomorrow to walk the downtown and select the locations. Along with Council Member McMaster and Mayor Forey, I also attended the AWC meeting, annual meeting last week. The free river recreation shuttle begins this Saturday. So it'll run Saturday, Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Every weekend and holidays through Labor Day, with the addition of Friday, July 5th. I intend to personally be utilizing that shuttle this weekend. So I don't think it's just going to be tourists and visitors. I think our locals will use it too. A lot of times I'm on the river alone, and it's a lot easier to hop on a bus than it is to bike shuttle and worry about your bike on either end being stolen. Downtown Steering Committee did meet this morning. We discussed interviewing the top 3 responders to the request for qualifications for the Front Street Pedestrian Plaza, and those 3 interviews are scheduled for July 11th. We also spent a lot of time discussing that water trough that's next to the A Stream restrooms. I just wanted to know if anybody had any institutional knowledge about that water trough. And we had someone attend a city council meeting 18 months ago or so, recommending that we add bike parking and make it covered bike parking in that location.
Right.
So it's been something that's been in my mind, and the Rotary dropped off a check for $360 today to buy some additional bike racks. Then I found out we have a couple that we've had since 2019 that have not been assembled. So that's a great location to temporarily place those additional bike parking racks. Maybe we'll cover it in the future, maybe we won't. But we did discuss that trough, and Troy was saying that it's very Bavarian to have a horse trough like that. So, well, it makes sense to maybe we can incorporate that trough into the Front Street Pedestrian Plaza design and maybe locate it where the horses queue. might be a little better there.
I have a question about that, something along those lines. Are those horse ties in front of like Modern Mountain Supply? Like those are horse lashing points, right?
They were, or they are, yeah.
Right, okay. I just saw me the other day, I was telling my son that's what they were, so, okay.
Were they bike racks?
They're bike racks.
Not
Oh.
horse.
Okay, so,
Yes.
yeah, they're circa 1993.
Yeah, they
Oh,
were used for bike racks.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And yeah, I did talk about this morning in downtown steering about the amount of free parking that we do have. We have 100 spaces behind at the park and ride behind Safeway, plus there's tons of on-street parking there. And Link is starting their shuttle again in July. I don't have details yet, but I'm told it will start again in July. Then working your way from east to west, Tom Lynn's lot has 80 spots next to the Bavarian Bakery, and he doesn't care if you park there, doesn't care if you pay.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Not now, but we have been talking with him, and Shannon brought to the parking committee last week, potentially entering into an agreement with Tom Lynn whereby we would start charging, we would enforce, and we would profit share.
Oh.
So that may be coming before you in the future. 14th Street, no meters. Commercial Street, no meters between 14th and 10th. There's a US Forest Service park and ride right across from the Blewett parking lot. Then behind the 76th, there's a strip of there's a small strip behind on Sherburne Street, a small parking lot. And there's the parking lot at Evans and Central at the school district parcel.
Oh.
And there's free 3-hour parking in behind City Hall. There's free 3-hour parking at the pool lot, except when the pool is in operation. Then there's the school lots. So if you don't mind a 5 to 10 minute walk to downtown, you do not have to pay for parking. You can find a place to park for free.
Shelby, remind me, so the parking lot next to the pool, you can park there for 3 hours for free when the pool's not operating?
Correct, except for the center bank, which is all our permitted stalls.
Right.
We moved all our permitted, we have permit stalls at Blewett.
Right.
Those are mainly Cascade Medical stalls. And then we have permit stalls in the middle rows at the pool parking lot. And we ended up putting them in the middle because when we tried to put the permit stalls, the signs for the permit stalls in the landscaped island, we kept on running into irrigation. Okay. So it's just easier to put it in, to put those signs up in the middle. So that's why we do get complaints from pool patrons about the fact that they can't park in the shade. But that's the only complaint. Then there's, I mean, if you want to go further, there's tons of parking down at Enchantment Park. That's what, a 10-15 minute walk into town through Waterfront Park. If you look around, there's free parking. Just need to look.
It's about convenience, right? You go to restaurant, you want valet parking, you're gonna pay more if you walk over. It's just gonna be parking and convenience.
Yeah.
Right, at the end of the day.
And when someone chooses not to pay or they park illegally, Shannon gives them a premium parking ticket for $49.
Well, yeah, that's why I brought up.
She got a little premium parking pass.
I saw your email, Shelby, about the complaint.
What's that?
I saw your email.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it turned out he was parked in the permit stall. That's why he was taken.
He was parked in the
He was
middle.
parked in a
I
permit
emailed
stall
you
that
more
was
details.
well signposted
Okay.
permit.
Cause I don't know, cause I was there that day and I remember people asking me, I was like, you can park on the outside, you can't park on the
Yeah,
inside.
he was parked. Shannon knows exactly the stall he was in. He was right in front of a big red sign that says permit parking only, others will be towed.
Yeah, I think it was, he said,
I
she
figured
said.
there's more to the
Yeah.
story.
And
Okay,
all I
that's
have.
it? All right, Chantel.
Yeah.
Now that he gave away all my secret parking stats.
Yeah, my street in there.
How long have you been here?
Right next to, park in front of Travis' house.
Just teasing.
Commercial and.
Just a reminder, under tab 5 was your annual report for 2023, and under tab 9 was the May finance report. As I mentioned at the last meeting, it's budget season now and audit time as well. I did get the budget calendar up on the website, so if you want to go take a look at that, it's there. If you have any questions, let me know. I also put out the call for budget, which is the initial kickoff for our staff. So they've all received that, and I'll be meeting with them this week to answer any questions they have. They have a month to work on their budgets and return those to me. So over the next month, I'll be working on the rest of the budget, which is about 3/4 of the document itself rather than what they have to do. So that's where my time will be spent. And the auditors, we have kicked that off as well. I started with initial requests today. On-site physical will probably not be until late July though. So they'll trickle out later into August, and we do have to wrap up by September to meet the federal deadlines that they have to meet.
So Chantel, I have to tell you, at the AWC conference, the mayor of Cle Elum said, I like your budget document. So I said,
The
yeah, the ClearGov, I think is what he was talking about. So he asked about it and I told him, ClearGov, but he just said, yeah, ours is just spreadsheets, not helpful. I mean, he loved the narrative and all of that.
Wonderful.
Anyway.
Wonderful.
So you might get a call from somebody from Cle Elum, and that's what it'll be about.
We did have an internal staff meeting on ClearGov. That was the one that you didn't have to stay for. But we did look at some other features of ClearGov, and Andy was super excited. We're implementing the next stage, which is capital planning. So we'll see how that morphs. We'll probably have to back burner that a little while with the loss of Tom. We'll definitely get that up and running, and that's just another module that's currently there. But when you look at it, I just have the CIP there, where when we start using it, it's gonna be almost like our project page on the website that will go into a lot more detail. We'll have narrative, we'll have photos, she can plan out years in advance when we can afford it, how we can afford it. So it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounded like it was gonna group projects too. And the council had asked about, well, this project impacts this project and how they tie together and how do we budget for that? And this new program will help you see those connections.
Yeah, street with water, with sewer infrastructure, all into one.
Does it highlight when there's a conflict and kind of lets you know an error, like, whoa, this isn't
For us
applied?
behind the scenes, yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be able to know, oh, we can't afford that right now. We'll have to, look either at more funding
Yeah.
or push it out or however that morphs.
Great.
Thanks, Mayor. We had talked before with the city council about pre-approved residential stormwater plans. I've received comments back from all our staff on the draft plans. And I did send it out to a local architect who's done some of those stormwater plans for residents as well. So I've gotten those comments. Just letting you know it's moving forward and it's gotten some really good input. So hopefully in the next month that'll get pushed out to the website. We received a thank you letter from Department of Ecology Floodplain Division for your adoption of the flood regulation. It updates, and so they're really tickled pink that we got that all done so quickly and efficiently. Maggie is working on the public participation plan for our 2026 to 2046 comprehensive plan. So we're gonna definitely be starting all of that public participation, if not before, but certainly with the mayor's September community meetings. So just know that we're trying to tie into that and get some good input there. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, the hazard mitigation plan is getting close to being wrapped up. So if you're interested, reach out to me and we can do a review of it. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple updates. One, for those who are not aware, the Osborne Playground upgrades project is well underway. The anticipated timeline at this point, though, the structures will be in before the poured-in-place floor is installed. So you'll see actually structures going up here in the next couple of weeks. That will be a pause because there's a separate contractor that does the poured-in-place rubberized surface. But we're on track to have the playground done way ahead of schedule. It likely will be done in 4 to 6 weeks.
Cool.
So it'll be
Awesome.
barbecue will be well in time for the barbecue.
Awesome.
The block party.
So we can do it. Yeah.
Ribbon cutting ceremony.
An official dedication.
Yeah. And then a second project update. This was, Lilith mentioned this, but speaking of boulders, the Glacier parking lot project is underway. They found a substantial boulder field. The good news is there is a fairly low cost option to remediate that. Still evaluating that with the contractor, but yeah, there's a very large boulder field that they discovered at the Glacier Y. But other than that, so far everything's going okay with that project. And then last, just a couple big picture updates. Like I said, the email, I just want to thank council and mayor for the support, Public Works. I mean, together we've accomplished a lot of great things, a lot of projects, a lot of funding, equipment, staffing. So because of your support, I mean, the Public Works Department is in a much better place today. So thank you for that. And also I do want to thank my coworkers, Selby, Pierce. I mean, it's been a really great experience the last 3 years, and I've really enjoyed my time up here. I've always felt valued and supported. It's a great place to work. And last but not least, I just want to thank the Public Works Department in general. I mean, the strategic planning that we embarked on, it wasn't me in my office developing a plan. It was collectively a team of the Public Works staff that came up with the goals, and they're implementing them. So they're embracing the change. They want to do better. So they're in a good place. So whoever takes this seat, not saying that Public Works Department is perfect by any means, but there's the plan is in place. Just got to keep forward progress. So thank you.
On Tuesday, July 2nd, is that the right day?
Yep.
Yeah, there will be a sob fest here, 11 and 1.
Bring your own Kleenex.
Between 11 and 1?
Between 11 and 1.
11
Okay.
Is that his last day?
Yeah.
It's the day before his last day,
The third is my last day.
but we're doing a 11 to 1 drop in sob.
Crying shoulder.
What was the date again?
Make him feel
Next Tuesday,
guilty.
Next Tuesday.
Between 11
But
and
this
1.
is your last meeting, right?
This is my
Yes,
last.
Yeah.
this is his last.
You're gonna be very, very missed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I second that.
I appreciate everything.
You're a brat.
I tried to get him. I tried to tell him that he needed to find his replacement.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Can't go until you find something worth it.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Sharon. Like you came and told me, I said, you suck.
Sharon, the best would be if you just stared him down and said in your best voice, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed."
That would be
How long will your new commute be?
Yeah,
right.
He
By
can
car,
walk.
2 minutes, walking 10.
He can walk.
Yeah,
to work.
yeah.
So-
environment, 1 mile at a time. Good for you.
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay, we have one more thing, executive session,
Oh,
RCW 4230-110-1B, property selection, site or acquisition, a 20-minute with no action to follow.
Can I
motion?
have to remove them? I can't.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, let me see your hands. It's unanimous. Okay,
I would
we'll
like
shut things
you,
off.
and I would like
People out.
Tom.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank
If you
you.
want to attend, you can. If you do want to leave, you can.
Oh, I'll go home.
Okay.
Right, so- Thank you.
Yeah.
10 minutes?
Okay, I would entertain a motion to move back into executive session, same reason for 10 more minutes.
So moved.
Second.
second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Is there someone out there?
Yeah. Oh,
So they left.
we will go back into executive session for 10 more minutes.
All right.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? We're adjourned.
Oh, so sure this one's overdone.
It's because we do ours at the end.
Oh, you didn't come to the last one. We